good with y'all YouTube? Today we got another motherfucker reaction. We reacting to two true hitchhiking horror stories, animated. This video is by IMR Scary Tales, so shout out to them. Link will always be in the description. Without ado, let's get straight into this reaction. You know how we do, straight in.
It was supposed to be a drive to reconnect, a chance for Mark and me to find some common ground after months of bickering and silence. The rolling hills and the quiet of the countryside seemed perfect, but that night, as the sun dipped below the horizon and painted the sky in bruises of purple and orange, our hope of reconciliation turned into a nightmare. We were on an old country road, far from the city's chaos, when we saw him, a lone figure limping across the shoulder of the road, his coat tattered and face shadowed by the dimming light. Mark, ever the good Samaritan, pulled over before I could protest. "Hey man, you need a lift?" The man paused, looking up with an unsettling smile under his old eyes. "Would you? I'm just trying to get to the next town over." His voice was hoarse, like gravel being crushed underfoot. I felt a shiver crawl up my spine, but Mark was already unlocking the doors.
Are you sure about this, babe?
Wait, what the fuck? Why is my... Mark was like, alright. Okay.
"It's just a ride, Sarah. What could happen?" What indeed? As the hitchhiker climbed into the back seat, a cold gust of wind swept through the car, carrying with it the faint stench of decay. I turned to give him a tight smile, catching his eyes in the rearview mirror. Piercing, calculating. He strapped himself in, his gaze never leaving mine. "Thanks for this. You're saving me a long, cold walk." As we drove, he asked innocuous questions at first, about the weather, our car, where we were from. Then his inquiries turned personal, intrusive. "So how long have you two been together? You seem tense." Mark laughed it off, chalking it up to a long day, but I could feel the hitchhiker's eyes boring into the back of my head, reading things I wish remained unsaid. The night grew darker, and a thick fog began to settle over the road. That's when he changed. The air shifted, thick with his unsaid thoughts, and then he leaned forward, his breath cold against my ear. "Take me to the old farmhouse off Ridge Road. You know the place. It's not far." There was a command in his tone that froze my blood. Mark glanced at me through the rearview mirror, a silent question in his eyes. "That's a bit off our path, buddy. Maybe we can drop you at..." "No! You'll take me there. Now!" His outburst was sharp, a knife slicing through the tense air. Mark's grip on the steering wheel tightened, and without another word, he turned off the main road, the tires crunching on gravel as we headed towards a destination that promised nothing good. The farmhouse loomed out of the fog like a specter from the past, its windows dark, its siding peeling like old scars. The hitchhiker's breathing grew heavy, excited. "Stop here. Let's go inside. I have something to show you."
We're not going anywhere. We're leaving.
But before Mark could throw the car into reverse, the hitchhiker produced a gun, the metal glinting ominously in the dim light. "Out of the car, both of you. Don't make this harder than it has to be." Fear, raw and sharp, twisted in my gut as we complied, stepping out into the night's cold embrace. The doors slammed shut behind us, the sound echoing like a gunshot in the quiet night. There, surrounded by the oppressive silence of the fog and the decrepit aura of the old farmhouse, our true ordeal began. The ground crunched underfoot as we were ushered towards the decrepit farmhouse by the barrel of the hitchhiker's gun. The air was thick, with the musty smell of decay, and every shadow seemed to whisper threats. Mark's hand found mine, squeezing it tightly, a small comfort in the face of impending doom. Inside, the house was even worse than its exterior promise.
Okay, really? This is why you don't pick up hitchhikers. What the fuck? He said, what is the worst that could happen?
Dust lay thick upon everything, and the air was stale.
This dude had a whole plot for it. Damn.
Heavy with the weight of long-abandoned memories. The hitchhiker directed us to the center of the dimly lit living room, where
Like, this dude had a whole living room, a whole building, and a studio just for
An old
this.
chandelier dangled precariously from the ceiling, its crystals long gone. "Sit!" he commanded, pointing to the dusty floor. We obeyed, the floorboards cold and hard beneath us. He paced before us, the gun always aimed in our direction, his eyes wild with a feverish gleam. "You see, this house, it holds memories. Memories of pain, of betrayal. And tonight, you will help me right the wrongs."
What the
His
fuck?
words slurred into madness, revealing a mind unhinged by past traumas, now
What the fuck? All this from a hitchhiker?
projected onto us. He began to rant about his childhood, about the parents who abandoned him, the cruelty he endured. We were his chosen audience, a captive pair to bear witness to his unraveling. "We have nothing to do with your past. Let us go. We won't tell anyone we were here." He shot a bullet in the air, tearing me up. "Quiet! You're a part of this now. You must pay the price of listening, of understanding." He began setting up what looked like a bizarre ritual, placing old, faded photographs in a circle around us. Each photo seemed to depict moments of a troubled family life, a child's birthday with no guests, a Christmas morning with no gifts, a graduation with no applause. The hitchhiker's voice became increasingly agitated as he described each scene, how each instance of neglect sculpted him into the vessel of vengeance he had silently become. Then, he produced a rope from his bag, throwing it at my feet. "Tie him up. Show me you understand the pain." The command was chilling, but it sparked a desperate idea in me. As I moved to bind Mark's hands, I whispered a plan to him, a risky chance that might just save us.
Play along. I'll make it loose. When I say now, you push him and we run.
Mark nodded slightly, understanding flashing in his eyes. I tied the rope loosely around his wrists, giving him enough slack to break free when needed.
Bruh, what the fuck? Hey, okay, good move.
As I stood to face our captor, I steadied my breathing, preparing for the moment to act. "Good. Let me see if the missy even tied it hard." He bent down to check, and in that moment I kicked hard at the hand in which he was holding the gun, but it didn't fall.
Now, Mark.
Mark surged up, using the slack of
Okay, like, was it on timing, like in real life? Was the animation just a little clunky?
the rope to lunge at the hitchhiker. Startled,
Okay.
the man staggered back, firing a wild shot that went wide. The moment
Of course it hit Mark. Not Mark, bro.
of chaos was all we needed. I grabbed Mark's hand and we bolted, racing towards the front door. We burst into the night, the cool air sharp in our lungs. Behind us, the hitchhiker's shouts and the sound of his stumbling pursuit filled the air. We didn't
I like how Mark's face is like
look back, running blindly into the foggy night, driven by pure survival instinct.
Don't stop.
The sounds of pursuit faded into the distance
No, they didn't become a hitchhiker after that.
as we reached the main road, where by some stroke of luck, a late-night traveler stopped for us. He called the police as we collapsed into his car, our bodies shaking, our minds reeling from the terror we had just escaped. The police later apprehended the hitchhiker at the farmhouse, still ranting wildly about betrayal and vengeance. Mark and I were safe, but forever changed. The ordeal left scars that no time
Wait, this man was just crazy? Wow.
could heal fully. A haunting reminder of the night we faced pure madness and survived. Reflecting on it all now, I realized how close we came to a different ending. One written by a madman driven by the ghouls of his past. But in the frantic escape, in our desperate will to live, we rewrote our fate, choosing life over death he had planned for us.
This is how AI
I
optimizes
don't
my
know.
schedule.
I don't
This
know.
meeting
He
got
didn't have a
canceled.
life plan for you,
Hooray.
dog.
We didn't-
I ain't even gonna lie to you.
It was
Story
just
two.
past midnight when I first saw him. A solitary figure standing by the side of the road, thumb outstretched towards the murky glow of my headlights. His presence was as unexpected as it was unsettling. This stretch of highway was seldom traveled, even during the day. Reluctantly, I slowed the car, the window rolling down with a hesitant whir. "You need a lift?" I called, my voice betraying a trace of unwilling curiosity. The man nodded. A grateful smile crossed his weathered face as he hurried to the passenger side. "Thank you," he said, settling into the seat and pulling the door shut with a definitive thud. "I wasn't sure anyone would stop." As we drove, the fog seemed to thicken, curling around the car like a living entity. So
this is where I wanted to stop. I'm glad it stopped here. I wanted to observe the person that picks up the hitchhiker. So don't look particularly too big or too strong or anything. So okay, just alone and just picking up somebody random. I guess this dude didn't seem like too off-putting, so he was like, "Fuck it, all right, let's do it." So
where are you headed? I asked, glancing at him. He was older than I first thought.
Okay. Like, he's a little old guy. He looked like he got a mean righty though. I think he could take him. I ain't gonna lie.
His eyes deeply set and carrying a weariness that seemed out of place. "Just up ahead."
Oh. Now that I get a good view of this nigga. Ooh. I don't know if I would have picked him up.
He replied, gesturing vaguely forward. "Not far." That's when the oddities began. First, it was the radio. As we talked, it spontaneously switched on, flipping through stations rapidly, settling on an old-time tune that crackled with static.
Y'all see what the radio station is, you know what I'm saying? You see what it's tuned to though.
I reached to turn it off, but he stopped me. "I like this one," he said.
What the fuck? I like this one. First of all, don't you reach for my hand, bro. The head, it wouldn't reach for your hand, though. Nah.
His voice suddenly distant. "It's been a long time since I heard it." The song played
Oh my god. I tried to do this the other day, like it's a song you like, but it's like, you know what I mean? Like it's a little scratched up on the radio. This dude he should have just had an aux, period.
Notes warping slightly as if the signal was bending around the curves of the road. We passed a sign then, one that was too rusted to read, its edges consumed by ivy and darkness. "There's an old marker for a cemetery," he commented, his gaze fixed on the disappearing sign. "Not on the maps anymore. People forget." The atmosphere inside the car grew heavier, the edges of my vision seeming to flutter like the wings of night birds. Shadows appeared to move with autonomy, darting in and out of the dim light cast by the car's interior. I swallowed hard, focusing on the road that now seemed more like a passage through another world than a mere highway. "A bridge is coming up," he said next, his tone casual, as if remarking on the weather. "Strange things happen around it. Watch." As we approached, the headlights flickered, a stutter in the illumination that made my heart skip. Looking into the rearview mirror,
What?
I thought I saw figures standing by the water's edge, their movements jerky and unnatural, but when I blinked, they were gone. "It's the light," he murmured. "They don't like it." "Who doesn't like it?" My voice cracked, the question slipping out before I could think better of it. "The ones who stay here. Imagine you've been tired for an eternity and finally wish to settle down in the warm arms of the deep slumber, but some buffoon brandishes a big light right in your face. Wouldn't you?
Wow.
You hate it?" He answered simply, as if that explained everything. We drove in silence for a while until suddenly the car's temperature dropped sharply, My breath became visible, fogging the space between us. He didn't seem to notice. His attention...
What? Is like it's foggy inside the car? Is that what the fuck he was saying?
Now on the road ahead. There's a diner not far from here. He broke the silence. It's abandoned now, but sometimes, if you look right, you can see the patrons inside. I stared at him, unease twisting in my gut. See them? How? Just watch. As we passed the dilapidated building, I risked a glance. There, behind the fogged and broken windows, are the silhouettes of people, frozen mid-meal, their heads turning unnaturally slow to follow our passing car. My heart hammered against my ribs. The sight...
Is he on the path that he's supposed to be going? Or, like, where is this guy trying to go? He's like, we just on this ride now, and I'm here to show you some shit. Like, what the fuck?
Too surreal to process fully.
Nah, this gotta be an actual town, bro.
What the who are they? What's happening? I managed to ask, my voice a whisper of its usual timbre. They're stuck souls forgotten in time, he said, his eyes reflecting a sorrow that seemed as deep as the night itself. But what better place to get stuck at if not for a diner? At least it's not on the road like me. His last words hung in the air, a confession wrapped in a chilling revelation. Like, you? I echoed, my mind racing as I tried to piece together the meaning behind his cryptic statements. The road ahead seemed to stretch into infinity, the fog a curtain veiling the world beyond. Yes, he replied, his voice steady, eyes locked on the horizon. I've been on this road longer than you can imagine, always hitchhiking, always picked up, but never reaching my destination. A cold shiver ran...
So one of the most important things for me with anything on the tour bus
down my spine as I processed his words. Why? What keeps you here? I asked, not sure I wanted to hear the answer. He turned to look at me, his face illuminated by the intermittent flicker of the dashboard lights. Unfinished business, he said, the cliché ringing eerily true in the context of our ghostly journey. There's something I need to do, something I should have done long ago.
What the fuck? This nigga got lore and shit now?
Is it? I asked, the weight of his gaze making it difficult to concentrate on the road. Just keep driving, he instructed, pointing forward where the road took a sharp bend. It's not far.
He hit that turn like that? IRL? What's he with him? It looked like a Honda or something.
Far now. As we rounded the curve, the air grew oppressively tight, as if the night itself was constricting around us. The radio burst to life again, this time spewing a jumble of numbers and static that made my ears ring. The car began to shake, a mechanical shut.
The Benz? I know you see the Benz logo on the front now.
That grew with each meter we advanced. This is where it happened, he said softly, almost...
I would have told this nigga to just hop out and finish your business. Like, hey yo, we gonna handle our bit. I didn't even know you like that, dog.
Lost beneath the cacophony of the radio and the rattling car. My car had a flat tire. I was out, crouched on my knees, when an out-of-control wagon came for me, and I don't remember anything else after that. The words had barely left his lips when a sharp, bright light pierced the fog ahead. Instinctively, I slammed on the brakes, the car screeching to a halt just inches from a massive oak tree that hadn't been there a moment before. My heart pounded violently against my chest, the shock of the near miss paralyzing me momentarily. He opened the door, stepping out into the mist. Thank you, Ray. He called back to me, his figure starting to fade. That is when it hit
What the fuck?
me. I had never revealed my name to him. Oh,
Nah.
wait! I shouted, my voice hoarse with fear and confusion.
Reverse, my boy. Reverse, my boy.
Where are you going? Is this for real? As he disappeared, the radio quieted, and the oppressive atmosphere lifted like a dark cloud passing. I sat there for a long moment, catching my breath, before finally turning the car around. The drive back was unnervingly quiet. The fog seemed to retreat with every mile, and the road behind me felt mundane. No longer a passage through a haunted night, but just asphalt and lines. It wasn't until I reached my own front door that the magnitude of what had happened truly hit me. I was shaking, not from the cold, but from the profound eeriness of giving a ghost a ride. I resolved that.
I don't know if he gave a ghost a ride like that, though. Yes, he disappeared into the fog, but yes, he knew your name, but that's tough.
That I'd never travel that stretch of road at night again. But as I turned to lock the door behind me, I caught a glimpse of
That door opening sounded scary as hell. What the fuck?
something that chilled me to my core. A set of footprints leading up to my house, disappearing at the threshold, as if someone had followed me home from the fog. And in that moment, I realized that I wasn't truly alone.
Hey, this one looked good. This one looked like a good reaction right here. We might react to that next. Hey, that was a great video. That was a great reaction. Motherfucker, let me know what you thought. If you ain't fuck with it, if you did fuck with it. But till next time, I'll keep it going.